have now the designer vagina now.
Now, tell us about that. Is that a trend?
There literally is. I work with a doctor in Frisco, and that's kind of her specialty, where they just go in
about her,
and they, after children and like hormones, gravity can make everything drop.
Gravity.
So, I mean, you can get a little rough down there too.
Right.
And so, people go and they have, things trimmed up and excess skin removed.
So she trims. I read about
her.
And
they can tighten the canal.
Oh, really?
There are treatments. They can tighten the canal.
Wow.
And so this is interesting. So you know how what aging is about, we lose collagen and our collagen production slow down. We have collagen down there. And so when you lose collagen, you can lose sensation and you can lose all of that. So there are treatments like radio frequency treatments, everything that they do down there that kind of help to fluff up the collagen, get that vascular, like there's something called the O shot. And that's where they take, your own blood, spin it down, and they inject it into your vaginal region and the clitoris to help to restore, sensation and the fullness. Oh. And, really people have heightened sexual, heightened their pleasures better after they do it. So, so even that now, the designer vagina, and I'm like, because people are looking at it.
Hey, y'all. I'm Lalanii Wilson-Jones, a Texas mogul with businesses throughout the state of Texas. And this is the show where we're spilling the tea on the bosses that I know.
It's time for Big Texas Bossin' with Lalanii Wilson-Jones. Spilling the tea on Bossin' Up.
Today I have with me the founder of Fitzy Shades MedSpa, located in Prosper, Texas, the beautiful Miss Diane Gibson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Gibson,
really
for
excited
being
to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about your experience, because you worked as an RN for 21 years prior to going into the spa industry. So tell us a little bit about your aesthetic experience.
So I have worked with, over the last decade, plastic surgeons. So from there, doing all the other, working in the OR with them and in the med spas attached to the surgery centers, you have them there and they're like, hey, you want to try this? So I'm like, I ain't doing it. Black don't crack. I don't need that,
Right.
And then, I started to become like very intrigued with,
Absolutely.
As I started to learn things and I started figuring out that even though black don't crack, we do have issues with like blemishes and hyperpigmentation and those types of things and texture. And what we end up doing is we end up using makeup and then we're covering and then we're causing more, damage. And it's just an ongoing cycle. And so from there, I loved it so much. And then people would come and ask me all the time. They're like, well, what do you do with your skin?
Right.
And so then before you know it, I'm like, you know what? Let me start doing this. I'm really good with my hands. I love education. I love teaching. And so I started with a certification here at National Laser Institute.
Okay.
People come from all over to do their training there because they have where they just go over everything, injectables, laser training. And so Texas Laser Institute was another one. And then just going on and just finding out like all the very popular injectors, making it, putting it on my schedule to go and train with them like one-on-one.
Oh, wow.
Because, you can go, how, as a nurse, you learn all that stuff and you get the book stuff, but everybody is different. Everybody have different techniques. And I mean, the things that you can do with this stuff is just amazing. And I love empowering other women. And that was one of the reasons why I love plastics. I know everybody's like, oh, you people, it was real and was fake.
Well, and you don't hear of a lot of black nurses in plastic surgery, so that's definitely intriguing. And to find out, what does an RN do in plastic surgery?
In plastic surgery.
Right.
So from the very beginning, so for like my business, Cosmetic Companions, we start with, people call all the time for like consultation. Tell me, is this a good doctor? So even down to helping people figure out how you find a good surgeon.
Right.
You know, we live in a time now that like everything is social media. And so if you see the doctors and they have a big following, people automatically assume that makes that a good doctor. What I found is some of the best doctors have 25 followers. And the reason why, they're so good, they did your mother's surgery and now they're doing your surgery, and they don't even have to do that because they're just that good. All these new doctors are under them training. And so
well, shout out to Dr. Ben Tittle, Park City's plastic surgery. That's my man.
No, he is, and he is the man. He is the man.
He is.
Yes.
He is. I love him.
Yes, and so we, so like down to pre-op. So, you know, making sure people have like that they have good blood pressure before they start, that things are like safe, and that their labs are good, and helping people to understand what that is. Even going in with a healthy weight. Your BMI will determine, like, if it's too high, then sometimes you shouldn't be getting surgery because you won't heal as well.
Right. Well, Kanye West's mother passed on the surgery table.
Yes.
Having abdominal
And if I had to tell you, oh my God, that's there'll be a whole nother segment, because I don't know if you know the trends. Everybody is the whole thing. Everybody's going after the hourglass figure and getting the BBLs. Not realizing it's one of the most dangerous plastic surgery procedures you can have.
Wow.
You can get. So you're hearing about people dying over in Dominican Republic and all these kind of things because everybody's going to, you know, try to get those surgeries. But I work side by side with the physicians when they're doing the surgeries. So awesome. I'm, you know, familiar with like sterile instrumentation, really monitoring the patient like during the surgery, making sure that, you know, their urine output is good, and like when they're doing the lipo, you know, tallying up, just really assisting there. And then the next part is the recovery part. You know, it can be very painful, but a good nurse can have a very good recipe for pain control. And I've had people that have had everything done, and they're just like, I thought I was going to die, and I was so comfortable, because if you know how to take the medications and all the things to do for a good recovery, it's very tolerable. So that's, you know, then doesn't help that, you know, I keep myself together. And
she looks good for the listeners or the viewers who can't see. She's a piece of work.
No, thank you. And having been, I've had the twins now for 4 years.
Okay.
So it's nothing like having your own kind of like your patient experience yourself to say like, okay, this is what it's like on the other end, you know, and things that you experience. So it definitely helps to transfer into caring for other people, because you know what they're going, you know what they're feeling like. And then the biggest thing is to see the women that afterwards they get this stuff done. You know, we give so much time to our kids, our bodies we sacrifice. I mean, I got the twins because after breastfeeding 3 kids for 15 months, it was like National Geographic. It was ridiculous. And there was no working out or anything I could do to fix that. Now with the twins, I can wear little dresses like this, you know.
And the lift and the fillers, you know, it's nothing like, you know, a couple CCs in there and get them shot up.
Get them back
and
on
carry
your
your card,
Yes. So that's how, that's what a plastic surgery nurse looks like.
Well, tell us a little bit. You started talking about the BBL a little bit. So for the viewers who don't know what a BBL is, because all the young girls are getting it, and I'm like, why are you getting that? But they love it. They love it. So tell us what.
We have all the videos. We live in a video society, and all the girls have a snatched waist, little waist, big old booty, hips, you know, and all that. And so what a BBL is, that is the acronym for Brazilian butt lift. And so it's kind of like they kind of started that in like a long time ago doing these type of surgery. So what they do is they actually do liposuction, and they take fat from other parts of your body, mainly the midriff, which you can get a lot of fat from your midriff, your flank area. And when I wanted to put it in perspective of how much you can get, I think there's a cutoff of like 5,000 mLs. So let's see. So for this, I mean, you can probably get about 10 of these.
Oh, wow.
From somebody's body. From like on the side. And so what they do is after that, you take that fat and just, I don't want to gross anybody out, but when they suck the fat out, it kind of almost reminds you of like chicken fat.
Right.
Like it's,
I've seen it.
and we call that, when it's like that and there's hardly any blood, we call that good fat. That's that pure fat. So then the doctors take it out, they kind of prepare it, and then they graft it or inject it into other areas of the body. And most of the time, if you do it, they can actually, it's almost like clay. You put it in certain portions of your backside, and they can give you hips, fix hip dip, give you a nice round bubble. And so that's what the deal is. Now, with the recovery, though, it's, it's not a walk in the park. Liposuction can be very uncomfortable. You can't sit on your butt usually for about 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
You have to wear like a very tight suit to kind of keep everything.
The compression
garments. And sometimes massages, afterwards.
Lymphatic massages.
But in all honesty, there are some people that no matter how much they did with diet and nutrition, they would never get that, what they call that ideal figure, and with that waist hip ratio, they just wouldn't get it because genetically they're like, just not built that way.
Proportion
that way. So, it's I'm for it.
Right. I am too, and I say to each his own.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord knows I've had my share of procedures, and I'm not, ashamed to talk about it or embarrassed by it. I think every woman should keep herself up.
Exactly.
And for me, that has been keeping myself up and moving along, but not necessarily the trends. I didn't need the BBL. I had plenty of that. Yeah, had plenty.
You could have donated.
Right. I could have been a donor, for a few people, me and my daughter. Sure, we could both donate, to the cause for anybody who needs that. But there have been other things, the twins definitely needed a repair. I had my kids, and then, you go through that, so you definitely need a lift.
Yes.
The muffin top needed to be removed.
Yes.
You go through different things. Cellulite, things we don't talk about as Black women are things that we don't even do.
Yes.
But they can take cellulite from the knees on up and all of that off of places you don't even think of. So
they even have now the designer vagina now.
Now, tell us about that. Is that a trend?
There literally is. I work with a doctor in Frisco, and that's kind of her specialty, where they just go in
about her,
and they, after children and like hormones, gravity can make everything drop.
Gravity.
So, I mean, you can get a little rough down there too.
Right.
And so, people go and they have, things trimmed up and excess skin removed.
So she trims. I read about her.
And they can tighten the canal.
Oh, really?
There are treatments. They can tighten the canal.
Wow.
And so this is interesting. So you know how what aging is about, we lose collagen and our collagen production slow down. We have collagen down there. And so when you lose collagen, you can lose sensation. And you can lose all of that. So there are treatments like radio frequency treatments, everything that they do down there that kind of help to fluff up the collagen. Get that vascular, like there's something called the O shot. And that's where they take, your own blood, spin it down, and they inject it into your vaginal region and the clitoris to help to restore, sensation and the fullness. And, really people have heightened sexual, heightened pleasures better after they do it. So, so even that now, the designer vagina, and I'm like, because people are looking at it.
Altruist Home Care Solutions is one of the top accredited home health care agencies servicing North and East Texas. With over 25 years of caring for Texas families, Altruist network of staff has become the preferred provider of physical and occupational therapy, wound, post-surgery, and primary care within the comfort of your home. Altruist Home Health Care works in conjunction with you, your loved ones, and your primary care physician to provide stellar care with honor and integrity. For more information on our services, visit our website www.altruisthhc.com or call us at 214-328-8600. Now back to the show.
Right.
Right. You want it to be cute too.
Right. Something to think about. What would you say the trends are for specifically Black women as far as the plastic surgery arena, and then we'll kind of go over to skincare.
So, the Brazilian butt lift is like by far the the most popular. I mean, everybody's kind of going for that ideal but that figure, and it's unfortunately I do see some people though neglecting good lifestyle choices.
Okay.
To kind of take this like quick, like I'll just get liposuction, and you're seeing a lot of these doctors who are, some of them are not even plastic surgeons, jumping on a bandwagon and going to get training to do liposuction and offering it very cheap.
And butchering people.
Yes. And sometimes it's just not, good, and cheap is not, you get what you pay for, honestly.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, you get one body. They've got financing now. If you got to put that thing in a layaway,
right.
I'll pay on
I
me.
believe in that, and I believe in staying in the United States. You see these girls running down to the Dominican Republic and other places to have their procedures done and coming back. I mean, you can always tell in the airport when you go to Miami, you're coming out of Miami, who's been somewhere to heck, because they're walking slow, bent over, and all of that. But there's nothing like being in the United States, having a certified plastic surgeon, working on you, so that if there are consequences or repercussions behind it.
Because when you come back from there, so what I will say is that around the world, there are some good practitioners, right?
Oh, yeah.
The thing is that no doctor, when you step on here, wants to follow up behind another doctor. They don't know what they did and whatever. So what you find is no one wants to touch you.
Right. Going to Mexico and getting it wherever you're going.
And so you hope that nothing can happen, but even things can happen. Even when I had my procedure, you're on a lifting restriction. So they told me, you can't lift, and so my daughter at the time was like 3. And I'm sitting on the floor, and of course she's mommy, 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 and she sits there between my legs, and then she goes like this, and she hits my breast with the back of her head. I developed a hematoma and had to go to the doctor, and we had to go and do but you know what I mean? It was something that even though I had done, there's nothing I would have done to know that was going to happen. And so you never know what's going to happen. And that's why I'm with you. Just stay here.
Right. Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the scarring that can occur, particularly in women of color, when you have the scarring still that doesn't go away versus other.
Now you're getting into my jam. Because actually, with me, when we're talking about the spa, so I'm a registered nurse, so I'm an aesthetic nurse, and I'm certified in lots of things, and then I'm also a laser technician. So one of the things that I love to do is scar treatments for after surgery. Doing treatments that help the incisions, because the scars you can have scars, especially if you're prone to kind of like having hypertrophic or like keloids or things, your scars kind of raise or they get really dark. There are laser treatments that you can use that would keep it light.
Oh, okay.
Keep it flat.
Do you need to do that immediately after, or?
You can take your time, because scars really go through almost a 2-year process. Your scars at 3 months are going to look different at 6 months, a year, and they just keep getting better, only because of the way the cellular turnover is for skin. Okay. But if you start to notice certain things, you can get ahead of it. And so usually they want you to have everything closed, and so you can use your silicone scar strips and be faithful with those, Right. And then, like I said, there's some people, man, you just never know. But high protein diet, those things like that help with wound healing and just kind of doing all those things and taking it easy, Right. And then there's certain surgeons too that do a good job. People can inquire about their types of closures where they can actually close you up nice where it looks good, especially like for, us with breast lifts. Sometimes if you have to go up and around the nipple, they can do it really close around the nipple where the scar just blends into the areola where you can't even see it. So or keeping the scar low if it's a tummy tuck.
Right.
I'm seeing doctors now that do lipo. They go here and they actually go under the armpit area. So now you don't see those 2 dots. You never see people, you see that they look good and then you see the 2 dots in the back. You're like, okay, I mean, But if you have the discerning eye, you know, like,
right, you know
okay,
what it is.
Right.
Right, exactly.
So,
now, can you do anything about the 2 dots?
you can.
Okay.
Yes, you can. You can start working on, so you can do things to lighten it.
Okay.
You can do things, lasers, to start to flatten it and take the pigment out and remodel that tissue where it looks flat and like whatever, and start, you can start doing that and making it really light.
Making it light. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. The laser is the go-to for a lot of stuff.
I just did my, I'm trying, social media is so hard. It's so hard when you're busy and you're doing stuff and you're trying to grow and doing multiple things.
But they used to say for skin of color, the laser wasn't good.
Exactly, they used to. And so, so let me tell you about Fitzy Shades, because people say, "Oh, that's cute. Is it like Fitzy Shades?" And like,
Right.
and yes, it is catchy, but everyone falls in a category of the Fitzgerald skin type. Okay.
Yes.
And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it goes from 1 to 6. And 1 is going to be your, like, Nicole Kidman, very fair, light eyes. And then your 6 is going to be your deeply melanated people like Lupita, like,
Okay.
And so the reason why this is important, because that scale determines how we react to laser treatments, how we react to certain treatments. And so there are certain lasers that are not suitable or safe for different Fitzpatrick skin types.
Okay.
And so what we've seen is that for years, a lot of the lasers just were not made for us.
Okay.
Everything,
they were the 1 to 3.
Yes.
Okay.
1 to 3 and 4 is always that, they can kind of like whatever, but it wasn't for us. And so practitioners are afraid to treat us because they don't really know, or you go somewhere and they'll take your money, but really give you a subtherapeutic treatment because they don't want to burn you,
Right.
And so what Fitzy Shades is about is kind of setting ourselves apart and saying that we specialize in all skin types, but we've set ourselves apart to provide safe treatments for skin of color.
Okay.
And so with that, we have lasers that are geared, that have all kind of like clinical studies and trials and protocols for darker skin.
Wonderful.
So that we can treat safely. So laser hair removal, acne, melasma, ingrown hair, rejuvenation, tightening, all of that. We can do that safely with our lasers. Okay. And having had the training for that, and having those trainings backed up by dermatologists that have actually gone that extra step to say this is what's safe for darker skin types.
Right.
So that's what the Fitzy Shades is kind of.
That's wonderful. That is, and that's a neat play on the Fitzgerald.
Yeah, just have, because people are like, what does that mean? I'm like, a lot of these med spas don't mean nothing. People come,
right, right.
But whenever industry people sometimes get it, and then whenever I have my opportunity to have consultations with patients, I'm able to kind of like talk about that and let them know, like, these are your options. So I love doing laser facials for my sisters.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
The client that comes in, who is the ideal client for laser surgery? Laser facial.
Laser facial. So this is the deal too. So our tagline is that we are champions of aesthetic equity for all skin types. When I tell you, down to teenagers, on to mature skin, people almost 70 years old. So if you have teen acne, the lasers can actually go deep into the dermis and like help to remedy it help it at the root. So we have teens that come in that are on that, where it's like they're talking like Accutane, and I don't know if you're familiar with Accutane is, but it's pretty gangster. It works, but it's a lot that goes along with it.
Okay.
Where they're like, you know what, we're going to try some laser treatments and some skincare and see what we can do first. And so your laser treatments can start. They're FDA approved for peds.
Oh, wow.
Psoriasis, eczema. My daughter, has eczema.
Right.
We go and, hit her elbows up because it helps with the inflammation.
Okay.
And so the range is wide. Now for me, my jam is anti-aging. I love anti-aging. And of course, you know, I try to be my own walking billboard. You know, I'm 46, and people are like,
"You look wonderful."
Oh, thanks. And so they're like, what do you? Yes. So they're like, what do you do? And I'm
not
like,
36, no, 46.
And so I'm like, let me tell you all the stuff that I do.
Right.
And kind of get them on that whole course and that track where we're like, okay, skincare, lasers, throw some peels in there every now and then. Like just the whole, because it becomes a lifestyle.
Right. I absolutely agree, and I subscribe to the lifestyle.
Yep.
So all of the treatments on your website for skincare, I've done. I love them. I saw you have the VIPO, which I love that. I saw you had the oxygen facial, which I love that. Tell us, for someone who may be a novice with skincare, or the girl who says, well, I really don't use anything, I don't need it.
You don't need it.
All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Diane. Diane was so hot. Stick around for part 2. True Texas Bosses. Thanks for tuning in to Big Texas Bossin' Podcast. If you like these conversations, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all social media platforms at Big Texas Bossin'. Tag us on social at #BTB.